The FIA just uncovered secret evidence that could shake up the entire F1 grid. Top teams are now under investigation and some may be forced to redesign their 2026 cars from scratch. Million-dollar systems are suddenly illegal. McLaren, Ferrari, even Red Bull, nobody is safe. And here's the twist, the season hasn't even started yet. If you want the full story before it hits the headlines, subscribe now. This is the beginning of a total F1 reset. This is not just another regulatory update. This is the moment Formula One hits the reset button hard. The FIA, after months of internal audits, has uncovered technical evidence that completely undermines the development path many teams have already committed to for 2026. The implications are seismic. What was once greenlit has now been flagged. What was compliant last season may now carry a penalty. And the clock? It's ticking faster than ever. Sources inside the paddock reveal that the FIA's latest data isn't speculation, it's based on discrepancies found in live telemetry, wind tunnel inconsistencies, and early crash simulation failures. That means this isn't about changing the rules mid-game. It's about correcting technical assumptions that never should have passed in the first place. Every team, from Red Bull to Haas, is now being told, check your homework. Because the FIA just found answers you didn't show your work for. The most urgent area under review is energy deployment. The FIA now believes that some teams built their 2026 hybrid systems on flawed integration logic. Particularly, electric power delivery curves were shown to peak outside of legal recovery zones during critical phases of race simulation. That's not a technical error. That's a breach of regulatory physics. And correcting that means entire software maps and thermal designs must be scrapped and recoded. Then there's the issue of active aerodynamics. What started as an innovation for overtaking has now spiraled into a compliance nightmare. The FIA has received simulation evidence showing potential failures in flap synchronization under braking pressure, meaning that during heavy deceleration, cars could destabilize due to mistimed aero shifts. As a result, all active aero systems now face an additional round of validation. And that validation comes with a warning: misalign once at speed, and your car could be banned before round one. Fuel flow, the silent backbone of every power unit, has also entered the spotlight. Sustainable fuels were supposed to be the safe bet. But new injector data reveals that thermal inconsistencies under real load conditions may violate safety thresholds set by the original spec. Ferrari and Renault, both leading the biofuel integration front, have now been ordered to retest their combustion profiles. One misfire, and the green vision for 2026 turns into a legal gray area. What makes this moment even more dangerous for teams is timing. These revelations are coming not at the start of concept development but during the final design freeze for most manufacturers. Many have already committed to hardware. Chassis architecture, cooling packages, and even battery shapes have been locked in. To undo those now means not just redesign, but a race against time, against budget, and against rivals who may adapt faster. This is not just about the rules anymore. It's about control. The FIA is sending a clear message: performance without regulation is meaningless. The 2026 season will not belong to the boldest design, it will belong to the one that bends without breaking. And in that tension between innovation and compliance, Formula One finds itself at a crossroads unlike any in the last 30 years. The first blow landed with energy recovery systems. FIA telemetry audits revealed that multiple teams had submitted hybrid configurations based on misaligned deployment thresholds. Specifically, the MGUK, which must deliver up to 350 kilowatts of electric power, was found operating outside its legal peak curves during race simulations. This isn't a minor deviation. It's a fundamental breach of the way electrical torque interacts with rear traction. The result? Those power units now face mandatory revalidation under new compliance heat maps. And it doesn't stop there. The active aerodynamic systems praised for their innovation just months ago are now a central concern. Data shows that under high-load corner entries, some prototypes exhibited asynchronous wing flap reactions, particularly under Z-mode conditions. That means the front and rear aero components aren't always reacting in harmony. This type of delay, measured in milliseconds, can produce instability at turn-in, leading to unpredictable handling and, in worst-case scenarios, loss of control. The FIA's stance is clear: safety comes before performance. Then came the revelations around structural integrity. At least 3 manufacturers, including one top-tier team, have received FIA requests to resubmit crash structure data for frontal impacts. Why? Because new evidence suggests that lightweight materials being used to meet the 768 kg minimum weight may not provide the deformation resistance originally projected. This puts homologation at risk. The implications are brutal. A design that prioritizes weight savings at the cost of impact absorption could be disqualified before it even hits the track. Fuel systems, long considered stable ground, are also under review. Thermal output inconsistencies were detected in recent injector flow tests, particularly in scenarios simulating rapid downshifts during heavy braking. Ferrari and Renault, both developing proprietary fuel atomization models for sustainable combustion, are now revisiting injector geometry entirely. The problem? These changes can cascade into the entire ignition and exhaust flow architecture. One tweak in spray pattern may mean weeks of recalibrating exhaust temperatures and emissions management. Tire interaction models, too, are caught in the dragnet. Revised floor width parameters mean that tire deformation must now be simulated in tighter margins, especially in high-speed direction changes. Teams like Mercedes, who were early adopters of new suspension linkages, have discovered that their predictive tire wear models no longer align with updated FIA rolling resistance thresholds. That forces a full rebuild of degradation, mapping a time-consuming process that affects race strategy, cooling cycles, and even steering geometry. Software has emerged as the silent killer. The FIA's latest compliance framework includes logic validation, meaning teams must submit not only physical data, but the actual code that governs battery discharge, wing actuation, and override systems. One top team is rumored to have failed this review due to an undocumented conditional in its energy override mode, which triggered deployment outside permitted zones. That kind of oversight is no longer a slap on the wrist. It's a grounds for sporting sanctions. Put simply, the entire 2026 development cycle has been thrown into disarray. What was once a smooth timeline toward preseason testing is now a scramble. Power units, aero kits, safety cells, software logic, fuel systems all must be reviewed, revalidated, and potentially rebuilt. For the teams, the question is no longer how do we go faster, but how do we survive this regulatory overhaul without imploding 6 months before lights out in Bahrain? The FIA's updated enforcement protocols aren't just stricter, they're strategically unforgiving. Teams are now required to recertify their entire 2026 design stacks, and the deadline is aggressive. The new mandates demand cross-verification between simulation results, physical testing, and live telemetry modeling. In plain terms, a concept that works in CFD must match wind tunnel behavior and align with projected track performance within less than a 5% margin. If it doesn't, the concept is non-compliant regardless of its speed potential. One of the most punishing aspects of this update is how it targets software logic. The FIA will now evaluate not only physical systems, but also the control algorithms behind them. Teams must submit active aero control code, hybrid energy management software, and override deployment conditions in a transparent format. A single undocumented subroutine, say, one that prioritizes torque delivery in a non-regulated window, can be flagged as a breach. It's not just hardware anymore. Coding bugs can get your car disqualified. Cooling is another nightmare. With aero packaging now tighter than ever, and sustainable fuels altering combustion temperatures, battery and ERS systems are running hotter than predicted. The FIA's latest evidence suggests that multiple prototypes exceeded internal battery temperature ceilings under race load simulations. That's dangerous. Batteries running above thermal limits not only degrade faster, they risk catastrophic failure. Teams must now implement more aggressive cooling strategies, which in turn affects aerodynamics, weight distribution, and structural layout. Chassis rigidity is under unprecedented scrutiny. The new narrower floor and shorter wheelbase introduce torsional stress patterns unseen in the current generation of cars. In one case, a midfield team's torsion bar assembly was shown to vibrate beyond acceptable thresholds during high-load braking simulations. The FIA has now requested real-world stress data on all new composite materials, particularly those used near crash structures. Failure to prove safe deformation characteristics under dynamic load will lead to homologation delays or outright bans. And then there's the human factor, driver interface. The expanded responsibilities for the person in the cockpit are raising safety flags. Drivers will now manage manual aero toggles, monitor energy regeneration, and engage override systems, all while handling narrower tires and reduced visibility in the new chassis. Several engineers warn that the cognitive workload is approaching unsustainable levels. At 320 km per hour, one wrong switch, one mistimed input, could result in disaster. The FIA is reportedly considering limiting driver configurable systems per lap. Supply chain chaos adds another layer of risk. As teams scramble to redesign, new components must be fabricated under compressed timelines. But suppliers, particularly battery cell and actuator manufacturers, are already stretched thin. A delay of 2 weeks in delivering cooling components or ERS sensors could derail entire testing plans. And with no clear grace period in sight, any late delivery might mean missing the homologation window altogether. This isn't just technical stress. It's logistical warfare. The bigger picture is clear. We are no longer talking about who will be fastest in 2026. We are now talking about who will still be legal. The entire development process has shifted from optimization to survival. Teams must balance regulatory precision with innovation under extreme time pressure. One mistake, one misread regulation, and you're not starting at the back of the grid, you're not starting at all. The question now is not just who has the best engineers, but who has the calmest minds under fire.